The DCU is a vast universe filled with wonderful, rich characters that feel like they were pulled right out of a comic book. Superman, Green Lantern, Peacemaker, Hawkgirl, and many more to come. But in this universe, we are missing the character who helped make DC what it is today. I'm talking about the Batman. For the first time in this new DC universe, we are getting a glorious, comic-accurate Batman with an established Batfamily, which for anyone who's a fan of the Batman, you know this is huge. But surprisingly, while this is one of the first projects announced for the first chapter of James Gunn's DCU Gods and Monsters, we don't really know a lot about the project Batman the Brave and the Bold. But James Gunn said it will come after the Batman Part 2 and it will feature Damian Wayne as Robin. Yes, but he's also been like, we'll keep you posted on that. It's ready when the script's ready. It is pretty clear that in the DCU, they are still fleshing out some key aspects of the character, which honestly, I think it's a good move. In my opinion, the more time we can take to build up to this mystery of the Batman, the Batfamily, and that entire universe, the better. Obviously, I don't want the first DCU Batman movie to be in 10 years, but bear with me for a second. I think in most superhero stories or concepts that we've seen, Batman is an established character, we get to know him in his world, and then we're introduced to other fantastical comic book characters like Superman and Green Lantern. But this time, I think it would make things more interesting if the audience got to fall in love with other characters of the DC universe, then get introduced to Batman. Plastic Man, Supergirl, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman. Then when we're introduced to Batman, Dick Grayson, Cassandra Cain, and the entire world that is Gotham, I think it will build up more anticipation and excitement for the character. If we can see this gothic, gritty, dark city after a shiny metropolis, all these cosmic elements of Lanterns and Supergirl, and hopefully in the future, Central City and Coast City, it will just bring another huge level of excitement when we finally get to see Gotham. One of my favorite elements of the Justice League and DC heroes in this universe is so many of them not believing Batman is real or not even believing that Batman is a human being. He's just that mysterious and that powerful. And this is the exact vibe that we should give the audience going into the DCU. When you have a man with a power ring or a man born in Atlantis, people who can fly, you need to do a good job at making sure the audience knows this mortal man who dresses up like a bat is next level and something to be feared. Okay, we know we have the Batfamily, we know we have Gotham, but what will the DCU's Batman actually look like? Let's put the broader Batfamily aside and just take a look at the Dark Knight. There are so many things that make a good, let alone great Batman. But to me, if you really want to hit the nail on the head with this character, it comes down to mastering these three elements. 1, the Bruce Wayne persona, that rich philanthropist playboy. 2, the creature of the night, also known as Batman. This includes his grit, darkness, determination, training, skill, and overall his ability to be a proper detective, because Batman is the world's greatest detective. And 3, who Bruce really is, which is the child who watched his parents die that night in Crime Alley. I think that part of Bruce is the part that is the most himself, and we really see that shine the most when he's with Alfred. If the DCU can get 2 of these 3 elements down, I think they have a great take on the character, but honestly, with all of the resources, directors, and comic book lore we have at the DC Universe, it should be easy to master all 3. We've had so many takes on Batman at this point, it should be pretty clear what people want from the character and how to adapt him into this broader universe. So let's start with the Bruce Wayne persona. With everything we know so far, this movie will likely have a new element of that Bruce Wayne persona, as he will have multiple Robins in his life, which really means alongside this rich playboy, you're gonna have to bring in some level of Bruce being a father figure. I don't care if it's Dick or Jason or Cass, Damian, no matter what, if Bruce has a Robin, he is playing some role as a father in their lives. Using what we know so far, let's use Damian as an example. I want them to show the difficulty of Bruce trying to be this rich playboy, living this double, sometimes triple life, and Damian being in the public eye and being a big problem for Bruce. He's never really had a child in the public eye, and I think it could be so interesting to dive into how he can juggle that and still make people believe that he is who he says he is. If they do this properly, it would be next level for them to not only have these deep themes with the family, with Bruce and the Robins, but also to show some deeper levels to Bruce and Alfred's relationship. Most of the time, we only see Bruce and Alfred when he's newer to Batman, but as Bruce gets these Robins, as he spends more time as Batman, his relationship with Alfred grows deeper and becomes more complex. This would be a perfect opportunity to have a deeper relationship with Bruce and Alfred, as Bruce is parenting this entire Batfamily, but kind of goes to Alfred and is a little bit more vulnerable and human. We can get deeper aspects into the past Batman lore in the DCU, like Batman's rogues gallery, everything he's lost with Jason, and what it means for his son to be crime fighting in this city, and everything that's at risk for Bruce and Damian. Of course, they need to master that Bruce Wayne persona, but what is Batman going to look like? For Batman, Batman, I think we really just need to see him in his element. The same way we see Spider-Man fighting smaller villains throughout the city, Superman doing small acts of kindness, I want to see Batman in the trenches of Gotham, exploring the city, meeting characters like the Mad Hatter, Professor Pig, Scarecrow, maybe a small Clayface cameo, just to build the universe. I also want to see some conflict within the Batfamily. I don't always love stories like Hush where Batman is pitted against the Batfamily, but if there's anyone who's going to have some quarrel with him, let it be Dick Grayson, let it be Nightwing. The Batfamily should feel sweet and like a unit, but it shouldn't feel perfect. Bruce is a very complex and flawed individual, and I want that to be clear here without us hating the character. Additionally, I want to see Bat gadgets, I want to see the Batwing, but I also want to see some cool training with members of the Batfamily and to see within the cave what day-to-day life is like for them. If they can do anything with Bat gadgets and tech like what they're doing with Matt Fraction's Batman run, I will be very happy. If we want to believe that this Batman is legit, we need to have good fighting scenes. I am talking about like Ben Affleck level Batman fighting scenes. I absolutely love the warehouse fight with Ben Affleck. This is a mortal man and we need to have people believe that he's a serious threat. This is obviously the best way to do it. I don't want fighting like in Reeves' The Batman. It's too grounded, and the Nolan fight scenes, I love the Nolan movies, but they just don't hold up. I want Arkham game level Batman violence. If he has to interrogate someone in crazy ways, let it happen.
Please, God, stop! I'll tell you, just stop! Remember something else?
We need to fear this man. Obviously, Batman needs to be cool. He needs to live that double life, playboy persona, creature of the night. But what about who I feel Bruce truly is? That child who saw his family die in Crime Alley that night. This is a really important aspect of the character to me, and they need to do it right. Because while we are filled with this lived-in universe with many members of the Batfamily, Bruce still needs to feel important and like we can see some growth with the character. So for his true persona, to capture how he sees the world as that child, the best way to do this is really going to be with Damian Wayne. Listen, a lot of people hate Damian. I know he's cocky, he's cutting heads off, and he's kind of crazy, but he was also introduced as like a 12-year-old that was raised by the League of Assassins. And this kid being related to Bruce and having that be his upbringing, you know he's going to be crazy, and he's 12, so he's going to be a little bit unbearable. So having some conflict, some disagreements between Bruce and Damian could be really cool, and having Bruce feel worried about if something happened to him, and what if he wasn't around to raise Damian, and what if something happened and Damian was influenced and brought into the wrong hands and could become really everything that Bruce hates within his own city. Bruce has practically worked his entire life to make sure that nobody has to die the way his parents died and to try to make Gotham a better place. The fear that his own son, his own flesh and blood, could be doing the opposite of that is something that should really be explored here. So yes, have that deeper dynamic with Bruce and Damian, and when Bruce doesn't know what to do and when he's conflicted, have him go to Alfred. Have those father figure moments, those teachable lessons where Bruce doesn't know what to do. Because I know a lot of people say in the Pattinson movies, Bruce makes mistakes and he doesn't know what he's doing as Batman, and they hate that level to the character. But Batman is not always perfect. He is flawed, and I don't think that in every movie, in every adaptation, he should seem like he always has his shit together. Okay, so those are 3 elements of the character that's really important to me, but let's talk about something that honestly, as silly as it seems, is incredibly important for this take. I'm talking about the Batsuit. When asked about the Batsuit, James Gunn said what's most important to him is the story and how they work with the character. Honestly, I completely agree, but we need to acknowledge that the Batsuit is very important. You can have all of those character and story elements mastered, but if the suit is garbage, the suit is garbage, and it will be hard to relate with the character. Listen, it sounds crazy, but aura is real and it matters, especially for a character like the Batman. This is especially important after all of the drama with DCEU and DCU fans, with the Cavill suit and the corn sweat suit. Listen, the suit can be comic booky, it can feel gritty, but it has to work for everyone. If some people think Batman looks silly, it's just not gonna work on screen. Personally, I think this is not the time to experiment and try something crazy like nipples, okay? Overall, what we need is something classic with a modern twist. What I think of when I think of classic with a modern twist is similar to what they did with the DCU Superman suit. It feels very inspired by the classic Superman, and especially Christopher Reeves, but there's also some comic book inspirations like Kingdom Come and the New 52, which in my opinion, say what you want about the suit, it makes everyone happy and it's a lot of fun. And it definitely feels like Superman. If you know me, you know I am a huge fan of Jorge Jimenez, and their design for the Batsuit and Matt Fraction's new Batman run is perfect, and I feel the most definitive suit we could have for the DCU. It's modern, it's colorful, it's edgy, it still works within the darkness and feels so comic book cartoony and fun, and I really think next to the DCU Superman, it would look so good. But whether it's black and gray, blue and gray, what really matters to me is that it is gray. I think at the end of the day, I'm really fine if it's more of a Hush-inspired suit or something like the Neil Adams Batman or something we see in World's Finest with Dan Mora, but having that yellow symbol would be really cool. I also really like how when people see the symbol, they want to shoot at it, and that's the most protected part of Batman's suit. Having little details like that could be a lot of fun for the audience. Just like the DCU Superman suit, it brings these classic nostalgic themes like Batman 89 and that yellow symbol, but also with the gray brings this new, fresh, modern, really fun take on the character that works with the Justice League in daytime or as Batman in Gotham at night. Like I said, if this suit can be anything like Dan Mora's World's Finest or Jorge Jimenez and Matt Fraction's Batman run, we are cooking here. Knowing already some of the DCU suits and what we're getting, I think it's very likely that there could be some inspiration to the DC Rebirth Batsuit, or even something that feels classic with a modern twist like the Batman Arkham suit. That is a very classic suit that feels modernized and intimidating while still having cool classic themes. This all brings me to my final point. And listen, I do not love fan casts. All I know with how I want this Batman to feel and fight and move is one of my favorite Batman adaptations of all time. It's Batman Arkham. Batman Arkham is so good. As Bruce, he's clever and egotistical. As Batman, he's truly the world's greatest detective, and let's be real, this Batman is just brutal when it comes to fighting. This is, up until Absolute Batman, without a doubt, one of the most menacing adaptations we've gotten of Batman. In the Arkhamverse, I also really love the dynamic with the Batfamily, how it's not perfect, and really some big aspects to how Batman pushes people away. I don't necessarily want him locking Robins in prison cells so he can go fight crime by himself, but I want there to be some tension. If you incorporate those story points with a redemption arc for Bruce that by the end of the movie, the second movie, brings him closer to the Batfamily, that would be huge. I mean, that's all I can think of, and that's all I care about. I don't care if it's Pattinson, I don't care who the writer, director is, I just want a good, comic-accurate Batman movie that does the Batfamily in Gotham justice. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think and what you want to see from the DCU Batman in the comments. If you want to support the channel, like this video and subscribe for more, and we'll see you in the next one.